Blinkers and blockages in your psychology stop you from facing aspects of reality. If you can't reliably see or access reality, you've got a major problem if you then decide that you want to change your life. Your benchmarks or map coordinates will likely be wrong because you've learnt to only see what you want to see, a twisted or distorted version of reality. You'll probably struggle to even work out the starting point. You've been conditioned into believing and acting as if being defensive is a good thing, whereas actually, avoidance doesn't work. Burying your head in the proverbial sand will frustrate any attempt to change. I'm sure you'll already have noticed that I've got my favourite ostrich with me again for this film, to help remind you of this. And Avoidance Doesn't Work is also the title of one of our books. Plus, of course, there's the avoiding dog. So we're doing our best to get this point across to you. You're a bit fuzzy about yourself, not really knowing in precise detail or sharp focus what's happened to you up to this point. Like others, you might vaguely realise that you sometimes make an excuse or two, perhaps even acknowledging that you've made someone or something a scapegoat in the past. But overall, you're mostly clueless. You won't know the extent that you've slipped, been influenced by others in the rat race. You might have tried to fit in far too much, or been damaged by disappointment after disappointment, so it's probably safe to say that you'll be a bit blurry about who you are. Facing reality, our sixth key factor, is one of the first things you'll need to get good at if you want to genuinely change your life. My blunt speaking should be helping with this by now, if you've been watching this series of films in sequence. Stevie Wonder has written, recorded and performed many good songs. He played most of the musical instruments himself on many of his famous recordings. Yet he was blind from birth. In the 1970s, a journalist asked him how he felt about being blind. The answer was great. The people I feel sorry for are those who have sight but still don't see. Selfishness, me first, creates a mangled view of reality because of avoidance. All kinds of limiting thoughts and emotions influence a person's mental perception of existence. In turn, this determines what someone does and doesn't do. You may look, but you don't really see. Psychological baggage gets in the way. Avoidance creates irrational gaps. The processing of information is corrupted. But instead of stopping to think, questioning, then rebooting or hitting the refresh button, you carry on as if everything's fine. The fact that everyone around you is doing more or less the same reinforces, normalises this madness. The reality gap is created out of a misplaced intention to keep safe. It seems easier to shut off and hide away, believing whatever bullshit you want to believe, reinventing or reshaping parts of the world, moulded by whim. The consequences of this distortion are many. Basic communication becomes a potential nightmare if you dare to reach beyond the superficial. All kinds of no-go areas lurk unseen beneath the surface. It's like walking through a minefield where one wrong move can trigger an emotional explosion. There's divergence where there should be convergence, separation in place of unity. All manner of additional knock-on effects follow as a result, adding further scope for chaos. Self-deceit is inevitable when you look the other way, refusing to face reality. You settle for wallpapering over the cracks, even when the cracks are wide enough to drive a bus through. When bullshit is employed in defence, creativity knows no boundaries. Justifications roll easily off the tongue and a false reality is created, at least within your head, and this spills over in terms of how you behave outwardly. You construct a complex mindset to help perpetuate this distortion, restricting yourself to only doing what you can comfortably deal with. You learn to cope rather than live, which is a clear sign of desperation or inadequacy. Emotionally fueled disagreements and arguments happen because of these oversensitive no-go areas. You're each walking through the other person's minefield. Everyone's trying to avoid or minimise further emotional anxiety or distress, each according to their own unique experience of social conditioning. Relationships are often formed when you feel safe with someone, but this commonly involves dancing around each other's weak spots, accepting them as a given, improving nothing, merely keeping the peace. Honesty and straightforwardness suffer because people are often scared to say what they really think. Some only speak their minds when severely provoked, irritated or inebriated. So valuable opportunities for learning and growing are missed, or never even created, as a result of people being obsessed with being liked or a fear of rejection. Walking on eggshells isn't living. Those who do try to push the boundaries are inevitably met with all combinations of irrational madness, as others are likely to make a string of excuses or displace responsibility whenever their emotional boundaries are breached. Those doing the pushing will probably have dubious reasons for being challenging, as everyone carries a hurt child and other baggage. It's all an immature mess, a madhouse. The singer-songwriter Jackson Browne captured this sad situation in the haunting lyrics of his song In the Shape of a Heart. Two people seek love, but complications of past sorrow and regret, concealed holes, get in the way. It's a song that far too many will unfortunately be able to identify with. There'll be a link to it in the description below. There's often a tendency towards myth rather than facing the bluntness of harsh reality. Hope is experienced as something reassuring and preferable in a world that may otherwise seem bewildering, seemingly helping to counteract feelings of being helpless and powerless. Belief appears to offer the comfort of sanctuary and security of companionship with like-minded people. But any dependency on myth or belief will hold you back, hurt you from being able to fully face reality. It's easy to indulge in myth. It offers escapism on a plate, a release from everyday life. There are many kinds of myth. Even the advertising industry takes advantage of people's gullibility, dropping in words like natural at every opportunity, creating a fluffy, feel-good, but ultimately wrong and misleading impression. Nature is actually a savage paradise, full of things that can kill you, as well as nourish and sustain. A lot of effort is required to study science, which can seem dull in comparison to the excitement and fantasy of near-instant belief. Working out a realistic strategy to solve our many global and personal problems might equally seem like hard work, when this can alternatively be answered by some end-of-the-world belief, faith in angels, or another supernatural force. It's the inclination to shy away from harsh reality, preferring myth, which is of specific concern here. Facing reality is an essential part of being able to change. Avoidance doesn't work. Logical thinking supported by clear evidence is the most reliable way forwards, the system behind our technological advancements. Stevie Wonder sang "Superstition ain't the way," and he was correct. Yet a large chunk of the human population still persist in falling under the negative influence of this backward thinking. As a general rule, capability goes together with facing reality. But even when someone is accomplished in one area, they seem bizarrely content to be contrary and stupid when it comes to other parts of life. It's as if they're ignorant as to the underlying mechanisms of their contrasting success and failure. Even intelligent and experienced individuals fall foul of this oversight, revealing their blatant limitations. It doesn't need to be this way. Life can, should, be much, much better. Tokenism is accepted as an easy alternative to being the best you can be. People don't really want to put in the considerable effort to change, when they can instead play or pretend. You see this a lot in all of the talk about being environmentally friendly. As most people veer towards identifying themselves as good or caring, they're open to persuasion. So they'll happily make a few minor adjustments, as suggested by the so-called experts, believing they're helping to do their bit to make a difference. But it's little more than pissing in the wind, effectively achieving nothing, whilst some major issues go on unchallenged and ignored. A major consequence of the ubiquitous self-orientated psychology is the ease of justification. When it comes to defending their dubious position, people are hell-bent in justifying what they do and don't do. They fail to see their blatant foolishness, aided by others keeping worryingly quiet, not wishing to have to admit to their own inadequacies. It's another instance of safety in numbers, once an evolutionary advantage, but now backfiring like an old car exhaust in a world of fools, with no saber-toothed tigers to keep them on their toes, grounded in a no-nonsense reality. People have all kinds of preconceptions, assumptions, beliefs, hunches and so on that are highly questionable and of dubious worth. Such falsehoods create a mindset that is far from being reliable. This results in a mixture of thinking that's jumbled and muddled. When someone arrives at a wrong conclusion, they're likely to stubbornly defend this position if challenged. Instead of debate, there's often emotional small-mindedness. Where there's an absence of detailed and logical reasoning, the predictable outcome is irrational behaviour. In terms of capability, which includes the need to face reality, muddled or irrational thinking will cause problems, limiting consistency and dependability. All of the above begs the question, how can you tell fact from fiction? There is a method. However, jumping to some iffy conclusion and believing fiction or myth is much easier. It takes considerable effort to think clearly, step by step, being prepared to question and challenge everything. You can't get away with being sloppy. The scientific method is a reliable means of determining what is real, although it takes time, and it's dependent upon the integrity of the scientists doing the work. But when it comes to the all-important subject of changing yourself, there's a good approximation. You can use inquiry, the act of asking pertinent questions, and you can apply the anti-hypocrisy test of actions speak louder than words over and over and over. This will become clear as we progress through this series of films. In short, what we're advocating is an evidence-based approach. It's a tragic waste of time and effort climbing up the ladder, only to eventually realise that it's leaning against the wrong wall. But this is what many spend their lives doing. Your foundations have to be solid. Together with your building techniques, you need to develop trust and respect for preciseness of detail. The concept of facing reality has had a bad press for too long, not least amongst those searching for that something more. This has to change. You must see reality as your best friend. You must engage with the no-nonsense anti-hypocrisy test of actions speak louder than words, enthusiastically saying, bring it on. And this has to include facing your avoidance tricks and techniques, because, as I keep hammering home, avoidance doesn't work. Facing the harshness of outer reality can be daunting, especially if you want to make a difference. It's tough out there, with untold suffering and problems galore. Learning to be ruthlessly self-honest, for some people, can be even harder to face. Yet the ability to be candid about yourself is essential. There's nothing wrong with being idealistic. It's having a big vision, which is a necessary quality if you want to help change the world. The trick is to make sure that it's linked with realism, rather than optimism. Realism helps by grounding idealism. They make surprisingly good companions. And whereas hard work is undoubtedly hard work, blood, sweat and tears, etc., when combined with the bigness of meaning and purpose, it's actually something which is liberating. So the true rallying call for anyone who yearns for a better world should be Viva Reality, Viva Hard Work. So that's it for this film. We're now a third of the way through this series, and I trust your understanding is starting to build. I'll see you again soon.